Welcome, everyone. Good evening. It's Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. I hope everyone is getting ready for your weekend. And today we're going to be having a very interesting discussion on a very important vegetable, which many of you know about, and it's called kale. Let me see if I have added one other group, which I didn't add. One second. Let me also save changes here. Good. So we're going to be talking about kale and cardiovascular health, but we're also going to be talking about much more about this important vegetable. Many of you know kale is a very nutrient-dense vegetable, and we're going to be talking about kale. But one of the things I want to start doing is nothing is positive or negative alone. There's no pro and anti here. So I've been focusing on the benefits of many of the vegetables or fruits I've covered, but I also want to give a systems view that we're also going to talk about how even a very nutritious food like kale also may have some potential concerns and problems with kale, and how the goal is about getting the right medicine for the right person at the right time, and same with food. Before we do that, I have a bunch of people signing in. We have California, Alaska, good to have you. Good morning from India. Very nice to have you, Gautam Vignesh. We have let's see, this is Hiroshi joining us, and we have Brooklyn. Someone said baked kale chips. Someone says, I like dinosaur kale. All right, baked kale. Someone saying health is under attack in many countries. Brisbane here. Good to have you. But anyway, we're going to take this systems approach to really understand kale, and I think you're going to like this. So it's very similar to the other presentations I've done, but I'm going to go a little bit deeper to also talking about some of the potential quote unquote side effects of kale for certain people. And then in that context, I'm going to also share with you how you can actually use a tool called Your Body, Your System, which is part of our Systems Foundations of Systems program, to really understand if kale is right for you, and ultimately you'll find out that everything comes down to dosaging, which means how much you eat. You can eat, too much of even a good thing, and how that can hurt people. Okay, so we're going to talk about that so you get a whole systems view about kale. All right, and many of you know that the approach that we take here is we take a systems approach, and that systems approach means that if you go to vashiva.com, the entire website that we've created is to really educate all of you to take a systems approach. We have someone from Monson, Massachusetts. Good to have you. Ireland, nice to have you. Who else? North Carolina. Mulai Kiro from Tamil. Okay, Tamil Nadu. We have Garner Dory from Garner, North Carolina. Very nice to have you. So what we're going to do is, if you go to vashiva.com, it's really becoming an educational institute for taking the systems approach to all different aspects of your life. So I want to encourage you to go there. And also, if you go to vashiva.com/join or truthfreedomhealth.com, you will get exposed to the Foundations of Systems course. We live in a world of complex systems, and even food, even something like kale, all of these are complex systems. And it's important to understand there's no pro and anti in this. It's about finding out when something is good for the right time, under the right conditions. And system science really teaches you that. So it takes you out of the rubric of left and right, pro and anti. So I encourage all of you to go there and start your journey to Foundations of Systems. This weekend, by the way, tomorrow, we're doing a Truth, Freedom, and Health Summit. That's tomorrow. And it starts, I believe, at 11 a.m. tomorrow, EST. We're going to be talking. It's a special summit for our Truth, Freedom, and Health Warrior Scholars. And if you join as a Warrior Scholar, you can get access to the summit we're doing. But the important thing we're going to talk about there is antiviral medicines from nature. So keep an eye out for that. And so I encourage you, that's tomorrow at 11 a.m. EST. We're going to do a long summit on antiviral medicines from nature to essentially counter the monopoly that Big Pharma says that you can only take synthetic drugs for this. So I want you guys to be open to that. We take this approach when I talk about kale. We take a approach where we're going to discuss the science, the truth. We're going to discuss the attack on science or the attack on freedom. And then what are, from a health standpoint, looking at kale, the positive things is also the potentially negative things, right? So that's the approach that we're going to take in this presentation. And to those of you who are interested in taking the systems approach, we have the book, the best-selling book, System and Revolution, available for everyone. It'll really be your journey. I recommend you guys get this book. We've made it. We used to charge, you can get it on Amazon for $20, but if you order, if you go on vashiva.com/join, it's absolutely free. And you just have to cover shipping and handling. So please take advantage of that. By the way, can everyone hear us? Someone's saying they can't hear us. Lori Turner saying, I can't hear anything. Everyone can hear us? Just checking in. This sounds good. Okay, good. So please, if you go to vashiva.com/join, you can also get access to the book. And those of you who are interested in connecting with me face-to-face every Thursdays at 11 a.m., 11 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I do an orientation. You can go to vashiva.com/orientation. Let me put up that. I'll put up the banner on that. Those of you who are interested in doing that, please go to vashiva.com/orientation, and you can connect with me. We actually will go over all the different capabilities we have in the movement that we're building. Okay. Today, as we go through this, we're going to really cover the cardiovascular system. We're going to cover both the biological functions and health benefits of kale. We're going to look at how the big pharma and unfortunately medical doctors do not learn any nutrition, and therefore they essentially present that the only way to take care of your health, that diet and nutrition really don't have a lot of effect, that the only way to take care of it, and we're going to look at the solutions that they offer as an alternative. But what you'll find out is medical doctors are discouraged from talking to you about nutrition. It's unfortunate. And then finally, we're going to look at kale, the mechanisms of action, the clinical evidence. But today's series, we're also going to look at how kale can affect you, not only beneficially, but also you have to be careful. For example, people have, let's say, kidney stones, or people have thyroid issues. Eating too much of a good thing can actually not be beneficial. So we're going to take the systems approach to doing that. Before I start, I always like to play the systems video, which inspires people, those of you who are new, but it'll really give you my journey across East and West to coming to this systems approach that we take. And then we're going to jump right into kale. Welcome to VA Shiva. VA Shiva is a product of my journey across East and West, science and tradition, ancient and modern, that brings you the science of systems so you can become a force for truth, freedom, health. VA Shiva is a platform of revolutionary education, community building, and weaponry for unleashing local activism. My journey to VA Shiva begins in the chaos of Bombay, where I experienced diverse religions, languages, castes, and in a small village that had no running water, no electricity, where my grandmother, a poor village farmer, practiced Siddha, an ancient system of Indian medicine over 10,000 years old. She observed one's face, the art of Samudrika Lakshanam, to understand a body's unique constitution, allowing her to deliver the right medicine for the right person at the right time. Watching my grandmother heal others, I was inspired to study medicine, but I was also aware of the corrupt caste system of India, which denigrated a human being, where my family were considered low caste untouchables, where one's birth determined one's destiny. The grit and determination of my mother and father led them to get educated and to come to America, a 1 in a trillion event. Their actions inspired me to work hard and excel. While in 9th grade, I attended New York University in a computer science program, and subsequently, at the age of 14, was given a full-time job as a research fellow at what is now known as Rutgers Medical School in the heart of Newark, New Jersey. There, I investigated the system of sleep using mathematics, computer science, and biology for sudden infant death syndrome. It was there in Newark where I invented email, when I was the first to convert every feature of the physical, paper-based interoffice mail system, including inbox, outbox, memo, carbon copy, blind carbon copy, attachments, into its electronic equivalent, a system which I named email, a term that I was the first to coin. On August 30th, 1982, I was awarded the first U.S. copyright for the invention of this system, recognizing me as the inventor of email. At that time, copyright was the only way to protect software inventions. I went on to MIT where I earned 4 degrees across multiple systems of engineering: electrical, mechanical, design, biological. That training led me to invent many other systems for advancing humankind. EchoMail, the world's first intelligent email management system. CytoSolve, a computational biology system for eliminating animal testing to discover new medicines faster, cheaper, and safer. And to the creation of a whole systems methodology for certifying clean food. These innovations led me back on a Fulbright to India, where I discovered the missing link between Eastern medicine and Western systems theory, honoring my grandmother, to develop Your Body, Your System, a powerful tool that will help you understand how your body is a system and how the inputs of food, supplements, and exercise bring your body back to its natural system state. And Systems Health, an integrative educational discipline that is now integrated into the VA Shiva platform that will enable you to learn the science of systems, the science of everything, be it your body as a system or our society and politics as a system, to reveal the foundational interrelationships between truth, freedom, health. Now is the time for you to be the light, learn the science of systems, build community, and weaponize yourself to unleash the activism necessary to deliver truth, freedom, health in your local community. Welcome to VA Shiva. Right. So as the video said, one of the key things that we want to support people in is learning how to think, not what to think. The educational system is far too focused on just telling people this is what you should think, but not how to think. And the knowledge of systems will teach you a way of how to think, right? So you start getting tools and how to really start looking at the complexity of the world without throwing anything away, but understanding the complexity, but actually being able to make sense of it. And that's really the science of systems. And so when we apply the science of systems, when we look at even something like the cardiovascular system in Kale, we don't just take a singular view. We first of all are going to look at the science. Then we're going to look at the attack on freedom, which stops that science from coming out, what I'm going to share with you today. And then how, when you're actually able to look at the science holistically, you actually can really figure out the positive as well as the potential negative benefits of even a nutrient such as kale. So we want to look at things holistically, okay? So let's look at this. So first of all, we're going to first look at the cardiovascular system. So how your heart works. So let's talk about that. There are 3 subsystems on how your heart works, and it's always good to review this. Those of you who've heard this before, it's going to be a review for you, but let's really go look at these 3 subsystems, okay? First of all, the heart is composed of the heart, the physical heart here. It has a blood vessels, which are known as a vasculature, and then the blood, the stuff that the heart pumps and that goes through these blood vessels, okay? And we're going to walk through this carefully, but what you'll see is that the cardiovascular system actually is composed of these 3 subsystems: heart, blood vessels, and blood. Now, the heart is a powerful muscle. It's right in the center here, which is responsible for pumping the blood. The good blood meaning the oxygenated blood, it receives from the lungs, which comes into the left atrium, and then is pumped from the right atrium right here. The left atrium, and then is pumped from the left ventricle. The ventricle is a bigger part here, and then all this oxygenated blood gets pumped throughout your body, but it's done through this vessel here, which is called, and you're going to learn this shortly, this is called the arteries. And these arteries, through all the capillaries, oxygenate your blood. And as your body consumes that oxygenated blood, it becomes deoxygenated, which gets pumped back to your heart through what is known as the right atrium, which then pumps it down to the right ventricle, which then sends it up to the lungs, the deoxygenated blood, which gets oxygenated, and the process continues, and so on, okay? So this is called the circulatory system, but all of this blood is carried through different blood vessels, which we're going to go deeper into. But what is blood? blood is not just the red stuff, which is the red blood cells, which carries oxygen, but blood also includes the white blood cells, okay, which carries very important white blood cells, which support your immune system. So just be cognizant that your heart is pumping all that red stuff, which you see as the red stuff that you see in, when you get cut or something, that's the red blood cells, but it also is pumping important white blood cells, which are the immune cells, which support your entire immune system. So heart health is important for immune system function, plus your circulatory system, all right? So let's get into a little bit detailed looking at the blood vessels, okay? The blood vessels are composed of three major systems. The arteries, which is in red here, which is carrying all the good oxygenated bloods to the next set of sort of branches called the arterioles, which then send all this oxygenated blood through capillaries. And capillaries are where the blood exchange take place. So the oxygen. So you're exchanging all the great oxygen into your and nutrients, right, to your cells, which is over here. And then the cells are putting in their waste and their carbon dioxide, which it comes back through the capillaries into the venules, and then it goes into the veins. So what are the arteries? Well, first of all, the arteries are the large blood vessels that carry oxygenated blood away from the heart, right? So they're bringing it from the heart, oxygenated. The veins are the large blood vessels that carry deoxygenated blood to the heart, right? Because the heart isn't going to pump into the lungs and they're going to get oxygenated. But the capillaries are all these fine, small blood vessels that deliver nutrients, okay, to the cells, but they also are the ones that take away the waste and the carbon dioxide, okay? So the capillaries, as you're going to learn very soon, are extremely important. So when we start looking at a nutrient like kale, how does it actually influence the capillaries? And the capillaries you're going to find are made up of a fine set of cells called endothelial cells. And I encourage everyone, you want to write that down, endothelial, because you're going to realize how important endothelial function is for your existence and for heart health. So if you look at here, now we're getting a little bit of a zoomed in view, but the arteries, the veins, and the capillaries are all consist of the tunica intima, okay? And that's the inner walls, okay, of the veins, the inner walls of the arteries. And in fact, the tunica intima is the only thing that the capillaries have, okay? And that's the inner layer, and it's consisting of endothelial lining. So the lining of the veins, the lining of the arteries, and the lining of the capillaries are made up of endothelial cells, okay? So it's if you walked into sort of your kitchen or your bathroom and the tiles, think about those tiles, each as an endothelial cell, and that's sort of the covering. And your veins are made up of that, the arteries are made up of that, and capillaries, okay? The capillaries, however, do not have the tunica media or the adventia. So what is a tunica media? Well, that's a middle layer, okay? So you have the endothelial, which makes up the tunica intima, but the tunica media, middle, is what the arteries have and the veins have. But you notice the tunica media in the heart is much thicker, okay? And in the tunica media in the veins are much thinner relatively. And then finally, you have the adventia, which is the outer layer, okay? Again, the capillaries don't have the outer layer, but which provides structural support, okay? So you have the structural support here in the tunica adventia. It's loose, fibrous connective tissue, and you also have it here in the arteries, all right? So you just got a quick lesson in the blood vessels. I'm sorry I didn't display the diagram, but you'll see it right here. So you have the inner piece, which is a tunica intima, which is composed of endothelial cells. The middle, much thicker in the arteries, called the tunica media, much thinner in the veins. And then the outer is, whether it's veins or arteries, is the adventia. Okay, so you can just look at that because I didn't put that up for you. Okay, so that is a vasculature that your cardiovascular system has. Now, we want to start doing, so now that you have a scientific understanding, systems understanding of the cardiovascular system, we wanted to now start looking at how kale affected the cardiovascular system. Now, think about what we're saying, and we want to take a scientific systems approach. Well, there's a lot of science that's been done on kale. And so in order to do that, we use a very powerful technology that I created out of my work at MIT called CytoSolve. which allows us to integrate the current research. So CytoSolve helps us analyze kale using CytoSolve. We can analyze kale using CytoSolve and allows us to integrate the current research. So what is that current research? So if you were to look all over the world as of today, how much research has been done on kale, look at this. There's over 23,000 research articles, to be precise, 23,647 articles done on kale. Quite amazing. In fact, there's been over close to 400 clinical trials, which means they've tested kale on human beings in 387 clinical trials. And for 118 years, kale has been researched. Okay. Jason says, I love kale. There he is. And Deborah says kale is easy to plant and grow. Definitely. We grow it in our garden pretty much every year. Okay. Very easy to grow. So what you're seeing here is that there's a lot of research done on kale. So for this work that I'm going to share with you, by the way, which is done by the CytoSolve Open Science Institute, which all of you, we're thankful for your contributions, which help us do this research and do these videos. It's a lot of work, but we have analyzed, this work relative to the cardiovascular system. How do we do that? Well, CytoSolve allows us to take all of this research, identify the relevant articles relative to cardiovascular systems, identify the molecular pathways, and then figure out which of the components in kale, which we're going to share with you today, that kale is composed of different molecular compounds, affect the molecular pathways of cardiovascular system. You'll see a lot of videos on the internet talking about kale is good, the health benefits of kale, let me juice some kale, but they don't tell you why. And this is not good, because this is where the new age people, or the quote unquote health people, leave themselves open to criticism because they don't provide you the reasons. With CytoSolve, we're able to understand why. And CytoSolve is really this very powerful technology which allows you to do complex analysis. And all over the world, we've had many, many universities use CytoSolve. For the last 16 years, the largest companies are really interested in really understanding combinations, how food affects health, have been using it. So I just want to play a quick video on what is CytoSolve. Who would have ever thought someone like me would invent email and create CytoSolve to revolutionize health for personalized and precision medicine, a system for delivering the right medicine for the right person at the right time? I was born a low-caste untouchable in India's caste system, a system of aristocracy, oppression, and racism. As a child, I observed my grandmother, a poor village farmer, practice Siddha, India's oldest system of medicine, to heal local villagers by observing their face, to know their unique constitution, to deliver a unique combination of foods, healing herbs, and massage. The caste system and her abilities to heal inspired me to understand the interconnectedness of all life. My name is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. I'm an MIT PhD, a Fulbright Scholar, a scientist, technologist, and inventor. My family and I left India to come to America on my 7th birthday. As a 14-year-old, I began working as a full-time research fellow at Rutgers Medical School to unravel the mysteries of sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS, and created the world's first email system long before I ever heard of MIT. As I traverse academia over the next 3 decades, I observed self-serving academics, never solving real problems, writing grant after grant, competing for tenure, while diminishing real science and real scientists, pushing a reductionist science to destroy the scientific method. Like the blind men who never saw the whole elephant, but the parts, they delivered a dismembered view of reality. I observed Big Pharma use such reductionism, wasting billions year after year to fund research in test tubes, killing animals, and using the poor as guinea pigs for clinical testing to create products that even the FDA no longer allowed. Not only Big Pharma practiced this reductionism, but also the elites of Big Vitamin, Big Green, and Big New Age, with gurus and yogis, empowered by Hollywood celebrities, selling one supplement after another based on a cherry-picked science. All that changed in 2003 when the Human Genome Project ended, revealing that humans have the same number of genes, about 20,000, as that of a worm, giving rise to a systems biology. We realized that one-size-fits-all medicine was a failure. we realized their medicines were killing us, making today's generation's lifespan shorter than any previous generation. Obesity, heart disease, deaths from adverse reaction to drugs, confusion on what diet, what supplements, and who to believe is what they have delivered you. They push natural and organic products for your beauty and wellness, while their real solution is their plastic surgeons and Botox. We've been sold out. It's time for real science, a system science that interconnects the parts to discover truth, to know what really works, to get the health we need and deserve. This is why I created CytoSolve. CytoSolve is about truth, freedom, and health versus power, profit, and control. CytoSolve is a revolutionary technology integrating bioinformatics, computational biology, mathematical modeling, decentralization to reveal the truth. CytoSolve computes trillions of potential combinations of biomolecular interactions to discover what actually works based on the actual science. No reductionism, no cherry picking. CytoSolve's predictive modeling has been proven accurate time and time again, matching laboratory results. CytoSolve discovers synergistic combinations of compounds to maximize health and reduce toxicity. For example, we know curcumin from turmeric and resveratrol from red grapes alleviate inflammation, but how much should we combine? Current methods are hand-waving at best. Here, with CytoSolve, we first model the control condition with no curcumin and no resveratrol to simulate high inflammation with the cytokine level at 0.15 micromolar. Next, we add just 5 micromolars of curcumin. The inflammation drops to 0.05. Next, we use 5 micromolars of resveratrol and the inflammation drops from 0.15 to 0.06. But when we combine curcumin and resveratrol of 3 micromolars of curcumin and 2 micromolars of resveratrol, inflammation drops from 0.15 to 0.03. Far lower, nearly 200% less than just one compound alone. That's the synergy principle of system science. We've all had enough of their fake and reductionist science. They think we'll simply keep buying their marketing, their celebrities, and their products that can never truly heal us. We don't need them. Great things come when we integrate the best of things. It's our time. It's time we delivered solutions for ourselves. It's time for truth, freedom, and health. It's time for CytoSolve. Welcome. All right, everyone. So that's CytoSolve. So now you get an understanding of the power of CytoSolve. And by the way, we want to encourage all of you, if you want to support research on any area, you can do that. If you go to vashiva.com, you'll notice, and you scroll down, you'll notice we have system solutions. One of them is the CytoSolve Open Science Institute. And if you click on that, it'll take you to the Open Science Institute. You can support research here. And you notice one of the areas we're doing research on, which is what this research is coming out as in cardiovascular health. And you can contribute whatever you want. And when you contribute a $1, nothing, whatever you want. But if you contribute 100 or more, you get all of these gifts. So go take advantage of that. So as I mentioned, one of the key things here is endothelial function. So I want to talk about nitric oxide and heart health, and why endothelial function matters, okay? So nitric oxide and heart health, why endothelial function matters. So you're going to learn about nitric oxide, you're going to learn about how it relates to the heart, but more importantly, you're going to learn a very, very important aspect of science that you won't really get anywhere else on these videos where people are just saying, oh, kale's good, or this is good, or that's bad, whatever it is. But you need to understand what is endothelial function and why it matters. So let's just sort of dive right into it, so you understand that. Well, endothelial function, the research that I'm going to share with you is original research that I was involved with while I was at MIT, and it was done with our collaborators at Harvard Medical School, Brigham and Women's, and King's College London. So what I'm going to share with you is getting down to the why, okay? So you're going to be able to share this with your family, friends, and in fact, you can even educate your doctors, okay? So first of all, nitric oxide. What is nitric oxide? Nitric oxide is obviously a molecule, and it's a potent vasodilator. That means it opens up blood vessels, okay? And it's key to maintaining blood pressure in your body. And it's an anti-arthrogenic, okay? And it's generated, nitric oxide is generated, listen very carefully, it's generated when eNOS, endothelial nitric oxide synthase, we're going to go into this, which is a catalyst. So nitric oxide gets generated when this chemical catalyzes, which means enables the release of arginine, okay? So it's generated when eNOS catalyzes L-arginine, which is an amino acid. So in order for nitric oxide to get released, you have to have enos, which is a chemical your body should make. You got to have arginine, which comes from food. And that's when nitric oxide gets released. And another important element is when you exercise, blood shear stress, that means blood flowing over the endothelial cells in a shearing manner. So if here's your endothelium, this would be a normal force. This is a shear force. So this shearing force triggers NO production. So let's sort of jump into that and look at this. Okay. So what you see here is here's one of those capillaries that I showed you in the vasculature. So let's zoom in a little bit. And so here's one of your capillaries, and it could be your arteries, right, or your veins. And here is the inner part of it. Remember, we talked about it, the tunica intima. And when blood flows, so you're exercising, that's what these arrows represent. And this blood flow creates what's called a shear stress, right? So here's your endothelial, and blood's flowing over it. And when blood flows over it, over the endothelial cells, it causes a production of nitric oxide. Well, from a system standpoint, we want to understand how all of this occurs. So how does this occur? So you notice right here, as the blood flows, the blood shear stress itself, the flow of blood, activates enos. What is enos? It's endothelial nitric oxide synthase. So when you run and when you exercise, this chemical gets activated. Very important. That's why exercise is important. So this chemical's activation helps convert the arginine that's in your blood. You eat, a piece of meat, or you eat some other protein like moringa, which is a nice herb, comes from a tree. You get a lot of arginine in your blood. And that arginine, when you exercise, releases the shear stress releases enos, which helps convert the arginine to nitric oxide. Okay. So you got to have, you're exercising, you have the arginine, and the arginine gets converted to produce nitric oxide. Okay. NO production, which leads to vasodilation and the maintenance of blood pressure. Okay. So you exercise, enos, endothelial nitric oxide synthase gets released, which converts the nitric oxide to the NO, and the NO does all this amazing benefits, which leads to vasodilation and the maintenance of blood pressure. Okay, interesting side note, Big Pharma created Viagra. Guess what Viagra does? Viagra sort of short circuits this and helps your body release nitric oxide, and you get vasodilation of certain organs. Blood flow occurs into those organs. Okay. So this is why nitric oxide is important. Okay. Very, very important. So let's go a little more deeper. Okay. And sorry, I didn't share this with you. Let's go a little more deeper. So again, we're seeing the shear stress, the activation of enos occurs, the arginine is converted to nitric oxide, and you get vasodilation. All right. So you can just look at that diagram. All right. Someone said, I bought a nitric oxide supplement, not good, bad feeling and swelling in my feet. Yeah, I would not, because you got to be careful with these nitric oxide supplements, okay? Because the amount, it's all about dosaging, because they could be short-circuiting some of these pathways. Exercise, which is what we're supposed to do as human beings, or move, this is sort of the natural mode of how you release nitric oxide. So you got to exercise, activity, and you got to have arginine, which comes from your diet. All right. Now, what happens? So our research using CytoSolve and with our collaborators at Harvard, MIT, and Brigham, we were actually able to put all the pieces together to actually understand at the molecular systems level, what happens when you exercise, what happens when that blood flow goes over your endothelial. So here's the surface of your artery or your vein or your capillary, and it has the endothelial. So that's one endothelial cell right there. When blood flows over it, that's your shear stress. And here's a little structure on your endothelial cell. This is one endothelial cell. Notice this structure. It looks like a Christmas tree. Everyone look at where I'm moving my cursor, okay? That's called the glycocalyx right here, okay? And the glycocalyx looks like a Christmas tree. When blood flows over, this structure shakes and it moves. And that, guess what, releases enos. That's this chemical. So the movement of blood moves the glycocalyx, and that is what releases enos, which is that very, very important chemical, which results. So notice here, blood flow over the endothelial moves glycocalyx structure on the membrane. The mechanical forces on the glycocalyx initiates. So the enos is used to convert the arginine through nitric oxide. Okay? Very powerful. And there's all these chemical pathways. So the body is a very, very interesting machinery. Okay? You exercise, you have the right food, and through these molecular machines, it converts, in this case, arginine mediated by enos to get you nitric oxide. All right? Now, how does all of that occur? Well, if you look at all the literature, okay, if you look at all the literature, like all those thousands of papers I talked about, you'll see all these little chemical pathways, little jigsaw puzzles of nitric oxide. Here's one pathway, here's another pathway, here's another pathway, here's another. Now imagine connecting all these dots. If you could do that, you would actually get a holistic understanding of nitric oxide release. Okay? Well, it's too complicated, so people weren't able to do it until CytoSolve came along. With CytoSolve, we're actually able to connect the dots, take all that knowledge that science has done without killing animals, mathematically compute those chemical reactions, put it all together as I shared in the video, and literally create a mathematical model of CytoSolve. So again, for all of you who have supported our research, we want to thank you, but this is where we're able to do this research on kale, why we're able to do it, okay? And doing that, we're able to then predict how much, without killing animals, this is over time, how much nitric oxide will get released through its precursor, the protein or the mRNA that creates enos, okay? So just remember, this is a curve CytoSolve is predicting. Now, is this correct? Well, we actually did wet lab experiments at Harvard, and those orange lines are from Andrew Kuh's work. So we're actually seeing the prediction of CytoSolve, and then we're actually able to see the validation. So our results, the black line matches the wet lab results. And same thing here. So this was published in one of the leading journals in the world, showing that CytoSolve can be used to mathematically model very complex functions. Until this, people didn't believe it, okay? So that's what we did here. And I was one of the senior authors on it with some amazing people, Andrew Kuh, David Nordlet, and others, Guillermo Garcia and Forbes Dewey over at Harvard and MIT, respectively. So now you got a deep understanding of the cardiovascular system at a vascular level and at the molecular level, okay? All right. Now we want to look at kale. What is the science and truth? So now we understand the system. Now we're going to look at the nutrient kale, and we want to understand the science and the truth of kale. That's what we want to do. We want to understand the science and the truth of kale so we can really piece this puzzle together. And the first way we're going to do that is we're going to, first of all, understand the nutrients in kale. And we're going to review the 21 key molecules in kale. Kale is a nutrient-dense food, but you hear that in a lot of these videos, but what does it have? What are those molecules? Okay, so because of CytoSolve and the work we do, we can give you a lot more detail rather than saying, believe us, okay? That's one of the things we want to do. We don't want to teach people what to think, but we want to teach people how to think. And how to think begins with really understanding the components that make up kale in this case, right? Or components that make up a system. So kale is composed of, in this case, 21 molecules. Well, what are those molecules? Well, first of all, kale's got macronutrients. What are macronutrients? They're the, by the way, kale is the most nutrient-dense food on the planet, okay? On the planet. So it's got fiber, 3.6 grams. It's got a lot of protein. Look at how much protein kale has, 4.28 grams per 100 grams. And 9 essential and 9 non-essential amino acids. And it has a lot of fat, okay? Relatively, okay? It's got fat, 0.93 grams. It's all relative, okay? So it's got fiber, proteins, and fat. Now, it has a lot of micronutrients, carotenoids, the major source of carotenoids, okay? It's a major source. It's got vitamins, minerals. It's a major source of calcium and a lot of polyphenols, okay? So let's explore this. Remember, I said it's got 21 molecules. Well, it's got 5 key carotenoids: beta-carotene, lutein, zeaxanthin, viola-axanthin, and neoaxanthin, okay? So it's got 5 of these very important carotenoids, which are good for eye health, skin health, all those things. Someone said, should I do kale organically? Of course, okay? It also has 5 other key vitamins: vitamin K, vitamin B3, vitamin B6, vitamin B9, and vitamin C, okay? So it's got a lot of vitamin K, B3, B6, B9, and C. And it's a great source of vitamin C here, okay? A major source. So 5 key vitamins. And we got 5 key minerals: calcium, potassium, phosphorus, zinc, 394 milligrams of zinc. It's quite a bit of zinc. And nitrites and nitrates, 250 milligrams, okay? So calcium, potassium, phosphorus, zinc, and nitrates, 5 key minerals. And kale's got 6 key bioflavonoids. That gives you the 21 molecules: protocatechuic acid, p-coumaric acid, sinapic acid, quercetin, camphophyrol, and rutin, okay? 6 key bioflavonoids. So in summary, we want to think about kale as having, it's a nutrient-dense food with 21 key molecules. That's a big takeaway. So let's not take this lightly. It's got quite a bit of nutrition packed in there, and that's the main thing we want to think about. It's got, in summary, it's got all of these 21 key molecules, okay? There you go. All right. Now, the next thing we want to consider is, what are the particular molecules? What are the molecules? What are the nutrients in kale that are good for cardiovascular health? Yes, it's got 21 molecules, but what are the 7 key molecules? There are 7 key molecules. To remember, the key things that we want to look at in kale are, again, it's got these 21 molecules. What are the 7 key molecules that are good for cardiovascular health? Well, here are the 7, okay? Lutein, zeaxanthin, vitamin C, rutin, quercetin, sinapic acid, and p-coumaric acid, okay? So there you go. So it's one of them is an important vitamin, and the 6 of them are those other elements that we had here, which are coming from the carotenoids, okay? So you got the carotenoids here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? I'm sorry. Let me correct that, okay? So if we look back here, we have the lutein and the zeaxanthin and the rutin, which are the carotenoids, but then we have the sinapic acid, the p-coumaric, and the quercetin, and the rutin, which are the bioflavonoids. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 bioflavonoids, two very important carotenoids, and 1 vitamin. So these are the 7 key molecules that are important for cardiovascular health: 4 bioflavonoids, 2 carotenoids, and 1 vitamin, okay? So think about it. This is a synergistic combination, okay? So nature literally delivers these 7 key molecules for cardiovascular health, all right? Very, very important to remember. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is, what are the health benefits of kale? Broadly, what are the health benefits of kale and the 8 biological effects? So we're going to talk about the health benefits of kale broadly, one of them being cardiovascular health, but what are the health benefits of kale and the 8 biological effects? Well, here we go, okay? First of all, kale is very, very good for skin health. It's good for heart health. It's good for gut health. It's good for liver health. It's good for eye health, and it's good for immune health. Let me just do one thing here. And I made a mistake here. So if you don't mind, I want to really, I think I'm fine. I'm sorry. I did this correctly. Sorry. I'm second guessing myself. So if you go look at this, we have these 8 biological effects of kale. But the systems that kale affects, there's 6 of them, okay? There are 6 systems that kale affects. Skin health, good skin, affects your heart, which we're going to discuss in detail, your gut health, immune health, eye health, and liver health. So you want to just look at that. So kale is a multi-systems food, multi-systems medicine, skin, liver, eyes, immune, gut, and heart health, okay? Now, what are the 8 biological effects? It's an antioxidant. At the biological level, it has an antioxidant effect on your body. It's anti-inflammatory, okay? Gastroprotective. It's anti-cancerous. Probiotic for your gut. Anti-hypertensive. Lowers hypertension. Anti-diabetic. Anti-arteriosclerotic, which means it breaks up plaque. All right? So those are the 8 biological effects of kale. All right. Now, here's a big question. Remember, I said I wanted to discuss this. Is kale right for you? Okay? Remember, today's talk is kale and much, much more. So is kale right for you? Well, how do you know if kale is right for you? Well, one of the important things that I developed out of my research work is a tool called Your Body, Your System. All of you, if you want to sign up for it, you can go direct sign up for it for yourbodyyoursystem.com. But I'm going to show you a way you can get the tool actually for a much lower cost and also get 2-in-1. You can become part of the movement. But you can also learn, is kale right for you? Remember, from a system science standpoint, we're not into saying everything blanketly is right for everyone. It's about the right medicine for the right person at the right time. In traditional systems of medicine, that's what people taught. My research, when I finished my degree at MIT, I went back to India and I was able to interconnect biological systems research, engineering systems research with Eastern systems. And that resulted in me creating this tool called Your Body, Your System. And Your Body, Your System, our slogan is Be Happy, Be You. And the quote I gave for the front page said, health begins with knowing the unique you. Your body is a unique system that needs the right inputs for the right conditions. Use this tool to know the unique you on your journey to real health and to understand the principles of all systems. So this tool, not only can you understand how a particular ingredient affects your body for you, but you can use it as a way to understand the nature of all systems, okay? So I want to encourage you to do that, but we're going to see how you can use this tool to find out if kale is right for you, okay? So what you can do here, let me go back here. Oops, where am I here? I'm sorry. So if you want to understand if kale's right for you, let's go here. And quick background, when you take our systems course, if you go to vashiva.com and you sign up for the truthfreedomandhealth.com, one of the things you're going to learn is everything in the universe is composed of 3 forces, the forces of transport, conversion, and storage. Movement, like digestive forces, conversion, and storage. I don't want to, you can go sign up for the course to do this, but in Indian science, the Indians view the body is composed, or the world is composed, the universe is composed of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And what I discovered from my scientific research was, from an engineering standpoint, the force of transport are the same as Vata, the force of conversion is the same as Pitta, and the force of storage is the same as Kapha. Anyway, this is how you can understand your body as a system. And if you were to map this out in a triangle, the top of it is transport. If this is 0, 0, this is transport, this is conversion, and this is storage. So you can map your body using our system on this. So when you use the software, Your Body, Your System, you answer a set of questions and it figures out what kind of body you are. The red dot can be in any different location. Every one is unique, okay? So if you see the red dot is here, that's you. Don't worry. If the red dot's in the center, doesn't mean you're any better, but this just shows where you're at. And then you answer a different set of questions at a particular time, which, let's say today, the black dot lets you know where your body is at today. Ideally, your black dot should be on the red dot, okay? And if that is the case, that means you're in balance with you. And the Your Body, Your System tool helps you figure out how food, exercise, and activities can bring you back to your balance. It's really a way to teach you system science, okay? So you can go do that. Now, Your Body, Your System we can use this tool to figure out how kale works. You see, kale affects the forces of transport, conversion, and storage. And this varies from person to person. I had my neighbor where I live, his name is Alan, and I saw Alan out there. That's about a couple of years ago. And he said, I'm juicing kale. I said, Alan, be careful, because you don't want to take too much of a good thing. Because, kale can affect your thyroid if you take too much of it. Well, anyway, a couple of years later, I found out that he went to this doctor, and his doctor said that, you're going to have your thyroid removed. And in fact, he had his thyroid removed. And it turned out it has nothing to do with any thyroid issues. He was just pounding away too much kale. Okay? So you got to be understanding. So our tool lets you figure out, at least gives you an understanding. So what you see here is kale increases the forces of transport. It stabilizes the forces of conversion, which is also known as pitta in the Indian system, or kapha, a storage, okay? But it will increase transport, okay? Like bowel movement, gas, bloating, when you have that, okay? So with your body, your system tool, for example, one of my friends took it and he found out his red dot was over here. And then he found out his black dot, which is where he is today, was over here, okay? So he already has a little bit of a destabilization going on at that moment in time. Now, using our tool, you can say, well, if I eat kale, what will it do to me? So you can go to the tool and add kale. And what kale does, it increases transport, motion. So it's going to destabilize him further, okay? So if you already have gas and bloating and you eat a lot of kale, it's going to destabilize you. All right. So the point is that your body, your system is a tool that you can use. And by the way, when you sign up as a Truth, Freedom, and Health Warrior, I give you a bunch of gifts, but your body, your system is included in it. So go sign up as a Truth, Freedom, and Health Warrior. You get this tool, and you can use it to understand not only for kale, but many other things. What's the right food for you? Okay. So now, given that background, I also I've talked about the great stuff of kale, how it can support your heart, but we also need to consider that kale, there are also some problems with kale. What are the problems with kale? And there are 4 issues to consider, okay? Yes, Free Spirit says too much of anything is bad. It's about balance, exactly. So there are problems with kale, and there are 4 issues to consider. What are those 4 issues? All right? Well, if you are prone to certain allergies, be aware that too much of kale can cause, in certain people, certain skin rashes, hives, okay? Not in everyone, but be aware of that. If you see skin rashes coming, be aware of that. The next thing is goiter, thyroid, okay? Vegetables like kale, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, very good for you, but they're known as goitrogens. If you have hypothyroidism, where your thyroid's already sort of working slow, and you eat lots of kale, too much kale, it's going to affect hypothyroidism. By the way, one way you can do that is there are seaweed, sea vegetables support your hypothyroidism, and I could do a whole video on that. But you need to understand that you can have goiter issues or thyroid issues, okay? So that's a second issue that you need to be aware of. Kidney stones and oxalates, okay? What are oxalates? The green vegetables like spinach, I have to be very careful because not with oxalates, but spinach has something called solanine. I'll get inflammation, my body type. But oxalic acid gets produced from these things called oxalates. And if you are prone to kidney stones, be careful, with eating too many green vegetables. I'm not saying don't eat greens, but be aware, okay? That's another issue. And the third is digestive bloating. If you're already prone to get bloating, some people go on these raw food diets and they eat too much kale and they get bloating. And then it's hard to, frankly, metabolize food, okay? And people actually put on weight, okay? So we have to be aware there are problems with kale, and these are the 4 issues that you should consider, okay? All right, so again, we want to take a systems approach here. Nothing is good or bad. It's all about the right medicine for the right person at the right time. All right. So now I want to talk to you about MV25 because here's an example of a product which I have here, which we use CytoSolve. I'm going to take a quick break here because I want to get some water. And MV25 is a product where we really looked at all the bioflavonoids that were in nature, lots of them, and we modeled using CytoSolve the molecular pathways of pain and inflammation and discomfort. And we used CytoSolve to discover a very powerful combination of ingredients from nature source that allows us to discover something in a very scientific way. And let me just play this quick video on MV25.
Millions of people suffer every day from painful discomfort and swelling, but most pain medications come with harsh side effects, and many alternative supplements have little scientific backing. That's why we at CytoSolve created MV25. MV25 was formulated using the CytoSolve computational systems biology platform, a technology for precision and personalized health invented by Dr. Shiva during his doctoral research at MIT. This formulation is the result of computing trillions of potential combinations of biomolecular interactions derived from thousands of peer-reviewed scientific papers published across 4 decades by 68 research institutions to discover an optimal synergy of compounds that downregulate biomarkers of discomfort and normal swelling.
Hi, I'm Barbara Ann. My hands would cramp up so that I couldn't hold cards or knit or crochet, and they would go like that. And I'd have to use this when I played cards with my grandkids, and I started taking that MV25. After a bit, I was able to hold cards in my hand, very, very little cramping, hardly at all anymore. MV25.
Hi, my name is Sandy. I'm a Taekwondo instructor. I tore my ACL during Taekwondo. I had a lot of pain and limited mobility. I've been taking the MV25 for about 6 months now. After the first week, I noticed a big difference. After the second week, almost literally no pain.
My name is Jeremy, and I suffer from a lower back problem. Hurt my back at work years ago, and I can go to the chiropractor, do all kinds of different things, and nothing seems to help. And I decided to try MV25. I didn't notice a difference immediately, but within a few days, the pain went away, and it stayed away. I've continued to take it, and even when I do things that I shouldn't do, it seems to go away a lot quicker than it ever did before.
MV25 is certified clean, 100% non-GMO, made in America, and GMP certified for good manufacturing practices. MV25 is CytoSolve optimized, which means that this formula has been engineered to maximize benefits while minimizing toxicity based on current research curated by CytoSolve. As the science advances, so will this formulation. This is our promise. Order online at mv25.life. Consult your doctor before taking any supplement or medication and use as directed. MV25.
So what's very powerful about MV25 is here's an example where we use the technology, the same approach that we're using to share this knowledge with you to actually discover something. And we've been helping a lot of companies do this, but we decided to use our mathematical models to actually discover something. And it's out there. If you go to VA Shiva, you can go to the shop and you can get it right here. If you go to the shop up here, and you can find the product, or you can go to mv25.life. So whichever way you want to do it. So now you have a deep understanding of the science of kale. You have a deep understanding of the science of the cardiovascular system. The truth, right? Science. Now, what's important to understand is that it is hard for everyday people to actually understand this science or the systems nature of this science, because big pharma and the medical establishment, and it's in some ways the medical doctors are made victims of this, of the medical school training, which is so much controlled by big pharma, that there's an attack on freedom. Most medical doctors aren't even frankly allowed to even talk about nutrition. And I want to share a couple of slides on that. So because the attack on freedom is because there's singular big pharma solutions and constraints on medical doctors. So what you'll see here is that the medical establishment narrative is a reductionist narrative, which means they do not take a systems approach, which is what my goal is to motivate all of you to start taking a systems approach, whether it's understanding Kale or any other thing in life, okay? And this reductionist narrative is they don't have a holistic understanding about heart health. Everything is always centered around cholesterol, 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 okay? That's all you'll hear. It's all about cholesterol. And the emphasis always is on treatment, not prevention. And the reliance is always on statins or blood thinners or, blood pressure medications. And there's no consistent guidelines on diet and exercise. In fact, there's no discussions on any alternatives, okay? And you'll see that what you do get on TV is take Lipitor, take Entresto, take Eliquis, take this. Look, you have to talk to your doctor about this, but my point is that 90% of the time, we only hear this narrative, okay? And you can see why, because this narrative is driven by, in this case, almost a $60 billion industry, okay? These are the 5 or 6 top, just the 5 top drugs here, okay? 5 top drugs have, generated about 60 billion. So this is the thing that drives the narrative. Now, when I said that the doctors themselves can't talk about it, this paper came out in the National Library of Medicine saying a deficiency of nutrition education practice in cardiology. Study finds most cardiologists lack heart-healthy diet and up-to-date nutrition education. Cardiologists lack education and willingness to discuss nutrition. That's in the Cardiovascular Business Journal. And in fact, Physicians Committee said cardiologists neglect to refer patients to dietitians. An integrative practitioner says study finds most cardiologists lack heart-healthy diet and nutrition education. So this attack on freedom of real thought occurs at the medical school education level, and even the deliverer of heart health is not able to talk really about nutrition. So that's why we have this attack on freedom. So I hope that gives you a background on what I mean, the attack on freedom. Now, let's wrap up with the effects of Kale on the health piece. We've talked about the truth. We've talked about the attack on freedom. Now let's finish up with health, okay? So what are we talking about here? How does Kale affect the cardiovascular system, okay? And in order to understand this, we're going to look at 3 molecular systems, okay? So again, this part of our discussion is how Kale affects the cardiovascular system. You're going to leave very shortly understanding why Kale beneficially helps the cardiovascular system. And we're going to look at 3 molecular systems, okay? So those molecular systems are known to affect antihypertensive effect, lowering, hypertension, anti-diabetic effect, and anti-atherosclerotic effect, which means the plaque, okay? So let's look at that. How does it affect? Now, to review, in order to understand, remember there are those 7 molecules, the 2 very important carotenoids, lutein and zeaxanthin. Then there's the 4, right here, the 4 bioflavonoids and the 1 vitamin C. So these things work together to affect those 3 molecular systems. All right. So first let's look at the nitrates, okay, and the nitrites, okay? So the nitrates from Kale is converted to nitrite. So the nitrate here, and this is in one of those molecular systems, the antihypertensive system. The nitrate from Kale is converted to nitrite by oral bacteria. So when you chew Kale, it's very important to chew. This is why I want to really emphasize this. If you do a lot of juicing, they say eat your juice. Drinking it, you don't have the opportunity for your oral bacteria in your mouth to decompose it. So when the oral bacteria in your mouth interact with the Kale, which has nitrates, it becomes nitrite. And the nitrite decomposes to nitric oxide, okay? And the nitric oxide activates this enzyme called soluble guanylyl cyclase, SGC. And SGC converts GTP to cGMP. SGC converts GTP to cGMP in the smooth muscles surrounding the blood vessels. Remember the arteries we talked about, and which have those the vessels, right? The smooth muscle cells, and they lead to relaxation. And that's how you get the relaxation. So the nitrites if you properly chew the kale and you let it swish around your mouth properly, right, and you chew it well, you get nitrites, which then lead into smooth muscle relaxation, okay? So that's the first molecular system, the anti-hypertensive effect, which goes through the nitric oxide pathway. That's the first molecular system, okay? The second system is the anti-diabetic effect, okay? Second molecular system. So how does this happen? Remember, endothelial dysfunction is caused by oxidative stress induced by superoxide and hydrogen peroxide. So when you have superoxide and hydrogen peroxide, not good chemicals, in your endothelial cells, so right here, if you have superoxide here and hydrogen peroxide, this screws up your endothelial. This leads to endothelial dysfunction, and that leads to diabetes, okay? That's not good. Now, what happens is, if you remember, quercetin and the vitamin E from the kale, what these do is these promote these compounds, such as quercetin from kale. What they do is they upregulate NRF2, very good molecule. And NRF2 promotes these two antioxidant enzymes, superoxide dismutase and catalase. And these two are very powerful enzymes which block superoxide and block hydrogen peroxide. And similarly, the vitamin E blocks the superoxide, so it doesn't lead to so it neutralizes these two not so good, right? Superoxide, hydrogen peroxide, ROS, reactive oxygen species. So it promotes the anti-diabetic effect because you dissuade endothelial dysfunction, okay? So there you go. So that's the second molecular system, the anti-diabetic effect through these pathways that we're hearing, okay, that we're seeing right here. And finally, the third molecular system is anti-arteriosclerotic effect, which means the formation of plaque. So this is how this works. LDL, which is the bad cholesterol, low density lipoprotein, bad cholesterol, that gets typically oxidized to OXLDL, okay, due to oxidative stress, which comes from superoxide. So the superoxide, so whenever you have endothelial dysfunction, the superoxide, okay, causes LDL, the bad cholesterol, to become OXLDL, and this leads to arterial plaque formation. You don't want this. So guess what happens? To intervene in this molecular system, the lutein, the zeaxanthin, the vitamin C, the vitamin E, and the quercetin, all of these very important players come in and they block the superoxide. So the LDL doesn't get converted to OXLDL, so you don't get the plaque formation. There you go. And this, basically, these very important elements in kale, that's why kale is a very important food, blocks superoxide, so you're essentially deterring arterial plaque formation. So there you go. We've now covered 3 molecular systems that support the anti-diabetic, anti-hypertensive, anti-arteriosclerotic effect. So again, another very important piece of knowledge that you've gotten today, okay? Now, question is, everyone asks me, well, how much should I take? How much kale should I take? Okay, so let's talk about that. How much kale should you take and what the current science says? So we're, again, using the CytoSolve process, we're really looking at the current science. Everything here, the problem with many of the videos on YouTube and other places, people just make claims. But here we want to educate you. So how much kale? What does the current science say? What does the current science say? Well, for heart health, which is the anti-hypertension piece, and I'm going to talk about a bunch of subsystems, but for heart health, 14 grams of kale powder daily. Okay, that's from Ide et al. 2016. 14 grams of kale powder. There you go. Okay, not a lot. 14 grams. Kale for skin health. Okay, skin health. The curly kale extract, which you, and that's, so if you can get the extract of kale, that's what they did in this research, Meineke, that gives you 1650 micrograms of carotenoids. Okay, Meineke et al. 2017. For eye health, and which is really related to age-related macular degeneration, about 15 milliliters of a beverage containing oleaginous extract of kale. That's what they used here. Arnold et al. 2013. So you have the different dosages. You can do your own research, but you can see 14 grams for antihypertension, right? Skin health, the curly kale extract, and the kale for eye health, the 50 milliliters of beverage containing oleaginous extract of kale. Now, these are the scientific studies that they did using particular components, all right? And then another question we get is all kale good, right? So the question is all kale good? And the real question comes down to organic versus conventional. And I would be remiss if we didn't go over this, okay? Organic kale is preferred over conventionally grown kale. Now, conventionally grown kale may contain over 18 different pesticides that are linked to lung, liver, kidney, thyroid toxicity, and are carcinogenic. And we know that organic farming produces healthier produce free of these pesticides. So if you're going to choose kale and you have the ability, please get the organic versus conventional, or explore what you need to do to really clean that kale up. There's many, many different things. I'll do a video on that if you want. So again, when it comes to all kale is good, my position is no. If I were you, I would get organic kale. All right. So finally, I also want to let you know that it is our movement, and CytoSolve was very instrumental in creating a clean, certified, and certified raw labels. And you'll see these on products if you go online. And this is why, and the certified clean label means that the products are safe. They means that farm to table, how were they processed, minimally processed, and bioavailability of nutrients. So the clean and raw certified are even a much higher standard than organic, because it's not just about organic, it's a number of constitutive things. So keep an eye on that. But it is our movement for truth, freedom, and health, and all the different things that we do, created the clean, raw certified, and you'll see it out there, okay? So let's wrap up today. We've had a long discussion. Summary, kale has several health benefits, including cardiovascular health, vision health, prostate health, immune health. We didn't talk about prostate, but that's one of the key things. Nitrates from kale promote NO production, which leads to vasorelaxation and lowers hypertension. Kale promotes upregulation of antioxidant enzymes and neutralizes reactive oxygen species, which mitigate diabetes, downregulate via endothelial dysfunction that caused by oxidative stress. Kale compounds prevent arteriosclerosis by downregulating oxidative stress that also causes plaque formation or hardening of the arteries. And finally, remember this, kale may not be for everyone, and or be aware that dosage matters, and we shared with you the Your Body, Your System tool, which comes through the Warrior program that everyone can use. So in closing, what I want to encourage everyone to think about is, I've shared with you a systems approach to studying kale. We looked at the truth aspects, the science, the attack on freedom from big pharma, and the health aspects. And this approach that I take is a whole systems approach, which I want to educate all of you on. So if you support the work we do, support yourself. Don't do it for me. Go to vashiva.com/join and become a truth, freedom, and health warrior. Sign up for the Foundations of Systems course. And when you sign up for this course, you also can, at the same time, right now, go to vashiva.com/join and also order the book, System and Revolution, free. That'll teach you the foundations. It's absolutely free, and you get the book for free. And the reason that it's important to understand all of this is that everything I've shared with you is about truth, freedom, and health. And I want to play a video which will hopefully inspire you on why you should become a member of this movement from this larger perspective of the systems perspective, health, truth, and freedom. And I'll come back shortly to finish up with giving you a couple of announcements. We have allowed our country to be taken over from within, and the end goal is you will have a homogenized world where we will become slaves, because there is a condition among the elites that really thinks they're better than you, deep down inside them, that you don't deserve the freedoms you have. They don't.
Agree.
This reality is what people need to wake up to. And we need to all unite working people. There's only one movement that can do that. And that is the movement that we started creating here in Massachusetts, the movement for truth, freedom, and health. Look, I've been a student of politics since I was a 4-year-old kid, studying revolutionary movements, left wing, right wing. There's a physics, there's a nuclear science to destroying the establishment. To build a bridge, you need to understand Newton's equation. You need to understand the laws of gravity. You need to understand Poisson's ratio. There is a way to build a revolution. And that's why I put this together. My goal is to train an army of truth, freedom, and health leaders. We don't need followers like social media. We need leaders, but they need training because the educational system does not teach them history, nothing. So in 3 hours, that's what I've started doing. That's the solution. We got to train people. First, with understanding what a system is. The second is understanding the interconnection between truth, freedom, and health. Freedom is the ability to move freely, communicate freely, right? Talk freely. Without freedom, you cannot convert ideas, hypothesis into truth, which is science. And without freedom, you can't really get to truth. And without truth, you make up fake problems and fake solutions, which means you destroy our health. And without health, which is the infrastructure of us and our body, you can't fight for freedom. Third concept is it has to be bottoms up. Working people, people who work uniting. And what the right wing has done is whenever you say working people unite, that must be communist. Meanwhile, they've let the Democrats run unions, which suppress workers. Completely corrupt. But when you look at the arc of American history, it's been when working people came up. We need to go local. Every solution I'm coming up with as a part of this movement, we're giving the science, which is the truth, and then we tell people what they can do on the ground. Like with election fraud, you don't need to wait for some lawyer. Our goal is to train people, Dave, to go local, to go local, to go local, fight locally. Forget lawyers, forget politicians, forget celebrities. You've got to learn politics, and there is a science to it. They lock us down, we should be ready to shut them down. And the fourth part of this principle is a not so obvious establishment. So when you look at a system, there's always something that disturbs you from getting to your goal. Well, the biggest disturbance is a not so obvious establishment, which are those people who claim they're for you, on the left and the right. The Al Sharptons who tell black people I'm for you. The Tucker Carlsons. Do you think any true anti-establishment person will ever be on Fox or CNN? I don't think so. They both mislead working people back into the establishment. Without this solid understanding of political physics and theory, you're screwed. You're going to follow on the left wing, Bernie Sanders. Oh, he said something. Or Robert Kennedy. Scumbags. Or you're going to follow, some right-wing talk show host. They're not going to lead us to liberation. It's us. And that political physics, it's a nuclear science of change. Bottoms up. We have to organize to understand that there is people who talk a good game and then look at what they actually do, left and right. I'm sorry, Sean Hannity may say some good things, but I don't see the urgency in his voice to get something done, and it can only come when you weaponize yourself with the right knowledge. You need to be able to identify a rat. Christ didn't go after the Romans, right? It was the Pharisees and the Sadducees who screwed him up. His own quote-unquote people. And that's where we're at. So these four concepts I've built into a curriculum. People can go to vashiva.com, and it's an educational program. We need to train people in political theory. You need to have physics, and I've created that curriculum. People need to get educated. We need to get educated fast. And within a half an hour, I can teach people. 2 years of MIT control systems, I teach people those concepts. Then I apply it, anyone can understand it. And then you say, oh, I got to build a bottoms-up movement. They have to get politically astute, and then they have to go locally and act, not sit there on social media. They have to act locally, defy locally, do civil obedience locally, but with knowledge on how to build a movement. The Senate campaign's expanded to the Movement for Truth, Freedom, and Health, and they can find it on V as in Victor, A, Shiva, vashiva.com, so people can sign in. They can get access to a bunch of videos. If they want to take a course and become a Truth, Freedom, and Health leader, I offer a full scholarship there. But we want people to make a commitment that they'll study, that they'll get certified, that they'll go do activities on the ground. So go to VA Shiva, Victory America Shiva, vashiva.com. All right, I hope that is inspiring to people. And the last thing I wanted to end with is that those of you who are interested, please come to an open house that I hold every Thursday at 11 a.m. and at 8 p.m. 11 a.m. and at 8 p.m. I encourage all of you to come. You can sign up. It's absolutely, there's no cost to it. We do it online. Go to vashiva.com/orientation, and you'll learn about our movement for truth, freedom, and health. The other piece I want to let you know is this weekend, for all of our Truth, Freedom, and Health Warrior Scholars, our students, we're holding a summit. And the summit is going to be on looking at alternatives or essentially antiviral cocktails from nature. And this is at the heels of Pfizer putting out a synthetic set of chemicals, oral things for antivirals. And we believe there's many things in nature, and we're going to talk about that. And given, we have to be careful where we talk about stuff because of all the censorship on social media. So we're going to be doing it on our own platform. So go to vashiva.com/join and become a Warrior Scholar. It's one of the benefits you get. You get a lot of additional education. So I hope you guys, if you can't make it there, which I encourage all of you to come to the orientation, vashiva.com/orientation. You'll meet some amazing people from all over the world. I actually run the orientations. I'm on it. We have 2 different sessions. So I hope you come. And I hope everyone has a good weekend. As I close, I will just play a video that you can use to understand all the different, very important features that are included in our movement, the platform that we've created. And it's really for you. So do this for yourself. And when you become a Truth, Freedom, and Health Warrior Scholar, you're supporting yourself, but you're also supporting all the content we create. Be well. Have a good evening. Hello, this is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. Welcome to VA Shiva, the platform of education, technology, and activism, so you may raise your consciousness to win the truth, freedom, and health you need to create the future you deserve. The VA Shiva platform provides this Truth, Freedom, Health Warrior Scholars the following 3 capabilities. Number 1, an ultimate education that is based on the science of systems. Number 2, technologies to empower you to take charge of your health, as well as social media tools, independent of big tech, so you can connect with other incredible Truth, Freedom, Health Warrior Scholars equally dedicated like you to winning truth, freedom, and health. 3, instruments for activism, so you become a beacon of light in your online and offline community to educate others, growth, and advancement. VA Shiva provides you the foundations of the science of systems, the ultimate education. The science of systems provides you the missing fundamental scientific knowledge to understand every system in and around you. The science of systems will enable you to uncover the real problem and real solution in any situation and on any issue. Concerning the educational component, first you will receive direct access to me to learn the science of systems in my 3-hour live private online group class that I run every week. Second, you will have access to archived lectures so you can continue your education independent of me. Third, you can test your proficiency in learning the fundamental principles and get a formal certification for the foundations of systems. Independent of this classroom education, you will receive also 4 important books. The first book is the best-selling classic Systems and Revolution, from which you can learn all of these concepts and more. The second book is The Science of Everything, that will educate you on how the science of systems is the foundational knowledge of every system in the universe. The third book, Your Body, Your System, focuses on how to understand the interplay of these systems within your own body. And then the fourth book, Your System, Your Life, will help you apply these principles to other aspects of your life, such as running a business, understanding relationships, and more. Beyond the curriculum and books, the second capability is the technologies that you will be afforded. One of them is a powerful Your Body, Your System software, which is an online laboratory where you can use your body as a system to further deepen your understanding of the science of systems. The tool allows you to understand what kind of system you are. Is your system on course or is it off course? And how the inputs of food, supplements, herbs, activities such as sleep, yoga, meditation, exercise can affect your body to bring it back on course. Finally, to support your education, I've also included a seminal scientific paper that I wrote, which will help you understand that the knowledge of systems, it does not only originate in the modern world starting in the 1920s and 30s, but it actually dates back 10 to 20,000 years and intersects directly with the foundations of Eastern systems of medicine. In addition to this, you will also get 2 scientific papers sharing how the science of systems can also be used to apply to understanding how food is medicine. One paper exposes turmeric from the molecular systems level and how it affects your body. The other paper explores ginger and how that affects your body. That's just the educational piece. As you raise your consciousness through this education, you will likely want to connect with other Truth, Freedom, Health Warrior Scholars in an environment where you can connect and build community. To support that, I've also created 2 powerful social media tools. One One of them is the VA Shiva Forum. Here you can start discussions, you can pose questions and meet others and have healthy debates. The other is VA Shiva Social, where you can create your own profile, your own presence, like other major social media tools. However, it is independent of big tech. You can use VA Shiva Social to interconnect with your fellow Truth, Freedom, Health warrior scholars and build community. Beyond the education capability and the social media capability, the platform also enables you to take action by disseminating your knowledge on the ground and into your local online and offline communities. Powerful educational cards and research are included so you can pass these cards to your friends and neighbors that provide them summarized content which further directs them to online research and education. In addition to this, the activism component also provides you many short 1-minute educational video content, memes, and text, allowing you to quickly craft messages for your Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and other pages so you can deliver content to educate others and drive them to longer educational posts on VA Shiva. VA Shiva is fundamentally an enabling platform for you to get the truth, freedom, and health you deserve through education, technology, and activism. I hope you become a truth, freedom, and health warrior scholar today. Thank you.